Hi everyone, it's Jasio here, and today we are going to make a pH indicator solution with primarily red cabbage. So I didn't realize red cabbage heads were so big, so I don't think I'll need all of this. I can probably do this experiment several times. So this red cabbage has a special compound it's a pigment dye that makes it this color. And I'll get to more of that in a bit. So I'm going to use this to make my pH indicating solution, and I'm going to test it with a couple of common household items. So I'm going to use just plain water, and then I'm going to have some vinegar, some baking soda, and I've got some bleach. So this involves using a couple of chemicals, and I also need to use a pot to boil the cabbage. So this involves some parent or adult supervision. So here you can see all of the materials I'm going to be using. I also need glasses for each of our solutions to be tested. I'm going to start by chopping up this cabbage really fine. And again, I'm using a really sharp knife, so adult supervision is suggested. So I'm going to start by just cutting off a big chunk. Start with that. I'm going to cut it up into really small pieces, as small as I can. If you could also use a food processor or chopping appliance if you have access to that. I'm just going to chop it by hand. And then I'm going to put it all in the pot, and once I have enough cabbage, I'm going to fill up the pot with water just so that it covers all of the cabbage. And we are going to speed through this part. So I've got my cabbage in water. I filled it up pretty much all the way with water. I'm going to leave it here on the stove to boil. And once it's boiled, I'm going to use this strainer here to get just the liquid out and pour some into each of my glasses. So while my cabbage solution is boiling, I'll explain what's about to happen. So red cabbage, along with a couple other vegetables and plants, so you could substitute the cabbage with apple skins, plums, poppies, cornflowers, grapes, beets, a couple of other things. There's a lot of different household foods that change color in response to pH. But I found that red cabbage has the biggest range of color change. So it's the best if you have red cabbage. So I used a good chunk of mine because I'm making a lot. So the reason red cabbage responds to differences in pH is because what gives the red cabbage this cool purple color is a pigment molecule called flavin, which is an anthocyanin, and this molecule responds to solutions of different levels of acidity or if they're basic, and changes colors. So ideally, we'll get some cool color changes ranging from a red to a purple, bluish color, to blue, and then all the way to green or yellow. So I have a couple of my solutions to test pH. pH is how you can tell if something is a base or an acid. pH measures the number of hydrogen ions that are present in that solution. So the smaller the pH number, the value, the more hydrogen ions there are. So the smaller the pH value, the more acidic it is. So for example, I have a diagram. Let's see. So, battery acid has a pH value of 0, so that's very acidic, pretty dangerous. Lemon juice and vinegar both have a value of about 2. So if you don't have vinegar, you could use lemon juice. Orange juice or other citrus fruits, sodas, those are about at a 3. Tomato juice, black coffee is at a 5. Milk's at a 6. Normal water is at a 7, so the water that I'm boiling my cabbage at is a 7, so that should be neutral. 7 is neutral. Then going toward the more basic things, we have baking soda, which is at a 9. A lot of detergents and soaps are basic. So soap, like soapy water or dish soap, that would be at around a 12. My bleach here is at a 13. Liquid drain cleaner is at a 14. So that's the most basic of some common household examples. So I'm going to make a range between 2, water at 7, baking soda at 9, and bleach at 13. So we should be able to get a nice spectrum of color changes. We should get red, violet, blue, and green or yellow. So once our cabbage solution is done, I will pour it into each of my glasses and then pour each of my testing solutions in, and we will watch the colors change. And just a note, if you cut the cabbage by hand, your fingers will turn all purple from that pigment molecule I was just talking about. So while that's boiling, I'm going to do some cleaning. So the cabbage solution has boiled pretty well. I just took it off of the heat. You can see here the cabbage has lost a lot of its color. It's starting to fade. It looks really pale. That means it's working. That means I successfully boiled off the pigment dye, and the dye is in the water itself. The water turned purple. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Now I'm just going to strain this and then add it to my samples. So since I boiled a large amount, I'm going to pour it over the sink. Ooh, that's a lot. And I've got this glass in there and a strainer. I'm just going to sort of pour it in. Just going to fill up that glass underneath. That looks good. It looks like I left behind most of the cabbage in the pot anyway. Got my cabbage juice here. I'm going to use a funnel because I made an absurd amount and I'm going to spill it. So I'm going to pour some in here. Already spilling some. I'm going to just bring it up to right around there. I'm going to do that for each of these. Okay, next one. Remember to clean up any cabbage juice that you spill because it is purple and it does stain. My fingers are still a little purple from chopping it earlier. Alright. That looks good. I'm going to put away my cabbage juice for now. And we are going to start and clean up the parts that I spilled. Alright, so we got our 4 solutions. They are all purple. So I'm going to start my pH scale here from most acidic on this side to most basic on this side. So we're going to start by adding the vinegar in this one, which, as I said before, has a pH of about 2. So I'm going to pour this in and see what happens. Here, first I'm going to turn a light on so maybe we can see that change a little bit better. Okay, that looks a bit better. All right, let's add some vinegar. Ooh, wow, that turned red immediately. That was really cool. I didn't expect it to be so quick. Nice. So this is our 2. I'm going to leave this one with just water. So this is going to be 7. And now let's do baking soda, which is 9. I'm going to add some of this. This should turn a little bluish. Let's see. Wow, okay, so it did turn blue. Let me see if you can see that on the camera. I'm gonna lift it up a little bit so you can see the difference. You can see it's blue instead of the violet on the left. It's just kind of dark. And now we're going to do the bleach, which is the most basic thing I have here, at a pH of 13. So again, This one's dangerous to handle. I would not recommend you handling this yourself. Wow, look at that. It turned bright yellow immediately. So we've got our pH scale here. You may have used litmus paper or pH paper in maybe an experiment in school where you dip a little piece of paper in different solutions and it changes different colors. That's pretty much what I've done here. Except instead of paper, I used cabbage juice. So, you can see the one on the right with the bleach actually is turning clear. Wow, look at that. So, there you have it. You can test the pH of common liquids with just some cabbage. And if you would like to recreate this experiment, feel free to use other household chemicals that you have laying around. You don't have to use what I used. So if you want to swap out the vinegar for lemon juice, or you have dish soap instead of bleach, go ahead and try all of them.